Testing. Am I live? Am I live? Am I live? Testing, testing. Let me know if I am live. Let me know if I am live. Testing, testing. 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Am I live? Am I live? Am I live? I'm still getting everything set up. Sorry for the delay. I legit had the thought. I was like, should I stream today? I was feeling a little under the weather. I was actually sick during this work week, and I just really wasn't sure if I could actually make it to stream. That's part of why I was so lazy to actually stream, was like come up with something to stream, was because I was busy recovering, just because everyone was getting sick at work. And so I wasn't sure if I was even gonna be able to stream, let alone, I wasn't sure if I was gonna be able to stream, let alone actually, well, come up with an idea for streaming, So let me know if I'm live. I need to know if I'm live. I need to make sure everything's up and going properly. But if we're live, we can start doing what I plan to do. Are we live? Are we live? Testing, testing. Am I live? Am I live? It says that I'm live. Let me just make sure of something, because I messed this up last time because I had not streamed for a while. Testing, testing. Am I live? Am I live? Yep, I see that I'm live. Let's see. Is this other one good? Am I live? Am I live? Am I live? Testing, testing. Yep. Everything seems to be good. Everything seems to be solid. Okay. Okay, yeah. So the way this stream came about was honestly just laziness. It was genuine laziness. I legit just like I've been sick. I've been sick this past week, and so I couldn't really devote much time to like being on Twitter, hanging out in people's streams, so it's like working on my own content. And so I didn't have the brain capacity to do anything. Sometimes you just don't have the energy or the mental capacity to come up with a really fancy and nice. Sometimes you just don't have the mental capacity to make a really nice drink. Well, a really fancy drink. But it doesn't mean that you can't make a good drink. Sometimes the best drinks are the simple ones. We covered this last week with Old Fashioned, and there are just tons of great drinks you can make that are very easy. And honestly, these are the kinds of drinks that will get you into mixology, because you realize how simple drinks can be. And then so you can make yourself a delicious drink with very minimal ingredients. You barely have to go shopping for anything, and in fact, you don't even need a shaker. This is an essential part of bartending. Having a shaker opens your door to legit hundreds of cocktails. But for the drinks we're gonna make today, you won't even need a shaker. One of them does prefer you to have a shaker, but you don't necessarily need it. A lot of drinks that you use with a shaker don't necessarily need it. It's just that it's better to have a shaker because you need that aeration as you shake it. And when I was coming up with the concept for this video, I was legit just like, man, I'm legit just thinking like, maybe I shouldn't just stream. Maybe I should take a break, take a mental break, do some work on some other stuff, recover, all that type of stuff. But then I realized I was sipping on a really simple drink, and I realized, hey, maybe that would be a good concept for a stream. Like I could really just go for something simple. And sometimes like even when I have plenty of energy. I have plenty of mental capacity to make something good. I just more want something simple that's really flavorful and really good, and there's nothing wrong with that. One of them is a very common drink. So the first drink I'm going to make is going to be a mule, and this will be a common theme throughout the entire show today, is that the magic of simple drinks is that you can expand them as you like. So you can order a Moscow Mule anywhere, and what it usually is going to be a shot of vodka, lime juice, and then ginger beer. I'm gonna do one of my favorite variations, which is going to be a Kentucky Mule, which is to say one made with bourbon instead of vodka. So let's get started on that. And it's very simple. You build this in the glass. It's very simple. You build this in the glass. So, or in this case, a copper mug. There's a whole story to mules, and we could do a whole episode trying all the variations of mules, because the base spirit you can honestly change. The mule itself is very versatile in terms of its base spirit, because in the end, like a vodka mule just tastes like lime juice and ginger, which is delightful and uncomplicated. But sometimes you want to spice it up a bit. The easy way to spice that up is using bourbon. So let's start with the first thing. And how about this, huh? My brother got me a really fancy cutting board for my birthday. Not my birthday, for Christmas. And this feels really nice. It looks really cool. Should I have this as part of my setup from now on? It does seem like I would have to figure out a way to make it fit in the frame for the vertical, for the horizontal rather. For the vertical, it does seem like it fills in pretty nicely. So you're gonna want. And actually, now that I think about it, I should build drinks on top of this so that I don't have to constantly clean my mat. I can just clean the cutting board. I probably do that from now on. That's actually a good idea. So, first things first, lime juice. I would just say one lime is good enough. If I were to give you an exact measurement, it's like 1 ounce roughly, but like there's roughly an ounce of lime juice in every lime. So I would say just don't overcomplicate it. One ounce is enough. 1 lime. Then I would say 2 ounces of your favorite spirit, unless it's something strong like absinthe. And actually, I love an absinthe mule. I could do that as well, but I'm gonna stick with something cheap and affordable like. Bulleit bourbon. I actually quite like Bulleit bourbon. I tried it for the first time when I wanted to make something called a revolver, I believe. Yeah, it's an old-fashioned variant where you use you use a coffee liqueur instead of your sweetener, and then a coffee liqueur instead of your sweetener, and then yeah, it's coffee liqueur, bourbon, and chocolate bitters, I believe, or orange bitters. I forget exactly, but it's a really good take on an old fashioned. And wordplay, you use Bullet bourbon in that cocktail, and it turned out I really liked Bullet bourbon. I tried it in an old fashioned, and I found it tastes similar to Old Grandad, which is my favorite bourbon. After more tests, I realized like it's a little lesser. It's not as complicated. It's not as interesting, but it's still good. And so I find that like using a more, I would say budget. This is roughly the same price, but I would say a more budgety bourbon in a whiskey mule, in just your using the slightly cheaper stuff in your mules in general is a nice way to use it up in a way that still complements it, in a way that still tastes good, but also like if you're not feeling too highbrow, like you don't feel like you're trying to force it to be something that's not, if it's not necessarily the highest quality stuff. And then I'm gonna fill this all the way to the top with ice. A key aspect of these copper mugs is you want that frostiness. You want to make it as cold as possible, so you want as much ice as possible. So be right back. And as you can see, very just filling up with ice. You want this to be cold. This tends to be a nice cold refreshing drink, which is a little weird for now during the winter, but if you happen to be watching this during the summer, a mule is a great drink for the summer. It's so cold and chilling, it feels really good. It's so cold and chilling, and it feels really good to drink in the summertime. And then very simple, find a good ginger beer and just top it off. I do recommend Fever Tree. I'm gonna use Fever Tree a lot for a lot of these stuff. These are intentionally designed to be made. Fever Tree stuff is designed to be mixed with cocktails, so they're usually quite good for cocktails. Whereas like something like Cock and Bull, something like other mixers, like you might be made for its own self. Fever Tree mixes quite well with stuff, and that'll be a theme with all of these. You'll have like various mixers that are made that like, oh, you add specific elements to it, but in this case, like Fever Tree is fine. It's great for this. And there we go, a Kentucky Mule. Oh yeah, oh yeah. You get the strong ginger flavor, you get the strong liminess of it, but then instead of just this being like a boozy limeade, ginger limeade, it's accompanied by like the woody, the peanutty, the is it oak? I'm not sure what to call that, but it is a very nice just whiskey experience, just like underlying it. So this drink tends to hide its alcohol pretty well, but you still taste it plenty if you're using anything that isn't vodka. And so you get a nice undertone of the spirit you use, and that's why you don't need to use anything particularly fancy. But as long as it's strong enough, like in terms of flavor, I don't mean in terms of like alcohol content. And if you just use something strong enough, it like cuts through and gives you the floor of that to like assist the ginger limeade and add some complexity to it. And it's really nice, and it takes no effort. You literally put a shot of what you like, lime juice, and top it off with ginger beer. Fill it with ice. And then you sip that and you relax and you feel nice and cool, because this is a very chilly drink. As you can see, or I guess it's not happening yet, but like these copper mugs will frost up extremely fast after a while. And then it's just cold and it feels super cold, and that's not necessarily pleasant right now in winter. But if you were hot during the summer and you just need a cold drink to really just bring you back, like, How to Drink has a great expression for this: liquid air conditioning. This is liquid air conditioning. You drink this and you just feel like you're sitting in front of an air conditioner, and like your body is just like rapidly cooling in a pleasant way, and it's nice. And it tastes good. I find something I do that I forgot to do is I tend to put the used lemon into the drink itself. It adds a little bit, like the skin itself has like oils that get leached out of the drink, leached out into the drink, and do taste good. And then just like the remaining lime, some of the pulpiness of it, so it does matter. It does matter a little bit. It doesn't really enhance the flavor experience that much, but it's a nice touch to it. Oh man, I'm in danger of finishing this. I probably shouldn't, because these are quite strong, but I really wanna, finish that. That's really good. And it's so simple. Like I said, like this takes no effort to make. You just put the ingredients in the cup and serve. That's literally all you have to do. It is one of the easiest ones. Let me just get something to prepare for the next one. Give me one sec. The next drink might actually be familiar, mainly because we did this in our previous show. It's the Old Fashioned. And the Old Fashioned, there's so many reasons why it's the ideal first cocktail. It properly introduces you to the complexity of a lot of these spirits. It's super easy to make, so even if you're a new mixologist, you should be able to make an Old Fashioned and it tastes great. And, well, it tastes great. It is so strictly determined by how good your whiskey is that, like, its uncomplexity is what makes it so valuable, both as a learning experience and just as a cocktail invention in general. Like, if you know the history of the Old Fashioned, just because it's like, it is so easy to make. It highlights so starkly how these spirits act with other ingredients and itself by like expanding the spirit itself, its flavor profile itself. And so you really get a good sense of what makes you really get a good sense of what makes the whiskey in it so good. what makes the whiskey in it tick, and therefore like I can't leave this out of a a lazy simple cocktail story video. So let's build it as usual. In fact, I'm starting in the wrong direction. Very simple drink. One half ounce of simple syrup, and as is usually the case, it's the taste. If you want more simple, add more simple. If you want less simple, put less simple. Half an ounce of simple syrup. Two dashes of Angostura bitters. Those are kind of weak dashes. I think this bottle's finally running dry. Because you dole them out in dashes, they last for so long, like legitimately months, but after a few months you will finally reach the bottom, and it's very unfortunate. And you saw me reach for the Four Roses earlier. That's because I'm kind of craving some Four Roses instead. But use any bourbon you like. And then I need to get an ice rock and then stir that. One moment. It's very important if you're adding an ice rock to a glass that already has liquid in it, that you don't just drop it in the glass. It's all going to splash back up at you, and you're gonna waste like half your cocktail. So you should try to like lower it down gently with a spoon. See that it almost already splashed up already. And just give that a nice stir for 30 seconds. And like with the mule, like with I mean, we talked about old fashions in another stream. They, like with a mule, like with what we talked about with the old fashioned, you could always elevate this by adding more complexity to it. It's so simple. This is like the base level of it, and you can add more to it. If you want to add a fancier syrup, if you want to add a little bit of, if you want to change up the bitters, if you want to change up the main spirit, as we learned, like if you want to put gin inside of it instead, that would actually be an excellent shift to it. At this point, you're technically done, but I would say the peel of orange rather. Lemon actually does work too. Some people do that with their IWSs, but it's the addition of the orange peel, I do think, is an important aspect of an old fashioned. So let me go and add that real fast too. There's like one more. There's like one more good strip of fresh lemon, orange peel that we can use on this orange. We really went. We really put this one through the ringer. Sadly, this one's getting a little old too. This one doesn't feel like it has a lot of oil left in it. Yeah, that was kind of a pathetic orange rip. It will still taste good though, I promise. Ooh, yeah. There's so much nice. Four Roses is just an excellent bourbon. It's just like, ooh, in addition to like the usual oakiness and like, I'm not sure if it's oak, but like woodiness, there's like so much baking spice. There's like crisp apples, there's like cinnamon and like nutmeg and like various baking spices and caramel, like a little bit of like dark chocolate in it. Oh, it's so lovely. Yeah, oh man, I get like a nice bite of dark chocolate in there, and it's so good. And that's all we did is put like 2 dashes of bitters, a little bit of sugar in it, and we can detect all of that range of stuff. And if you tried it yourself, you might not be able to understand what you're tasting, but you can tell there's like, oh my god, there's like 5 different flavors going on here at the same time, and it's overwhelming but awesome. And it's so easy to make. You legit just put an ice cube, a big ice cube in there, and 3 ingredients, and you have something that now lets you understand whiskey. It's honestly like learning a new language. Like, you see the words, you don't understand what they mean yet, but they're showing up as coherent text. And so that's the most important first step, is just understanding the text in front of you. Seeing the text in front of you so you can learn how to understand it. And this is like your dictionary. It's just so simple and yet so understandable. I'm in danger of finishing that too. I'm gonna have a little more of a meal. I'm actually more in the mood for a meal than I am this. Okay. Okay. Next one should be good. Give me a moment. Now this is the drink that made me want to do this topic to begin with. This is the drink that made me want to do this topic to begin with. I was just looking at my YouTube, wanting to set up streams. Like, maybe I shouldn't stream Midnight Mixology tonight. I'm not feeling it. Maybe I should do maybe I should just do my gaming stream. So I'm gonna set up my gaming stream for tomorrow. And then like I thought about it, and then I realized why I was drinking at the time, what I had made myself as I was contemplating things and like working on something else for my YouTube was a gin and tonic. And that drink is as simple as it sounds. It is literally gin, and tonic water. Oh, I realized I was blocking my face tracking thing. Gin, gin, and tonic water. Now, you may go on other YouTube videos, you may look up other people's recipes, and they'll more specifically say maybe like tonic syrup plus soda water. You could do that. You can make your own tonic syrup. You can find like high quality tonic syrup at the store. I would say this, like the old fashioned, this drink benefits most from the quality of its ingredients. So as long as you have a pretty good gin, and as long as you have a pretty good tonic, you will make a good gin and tonic. It is completely based on these two things. And in fact, and because its origins are that tonic water contains quinine. It used to be good for, I believe it was scurvy. I forget. There was an illness way back in the day that they couldn't figure out. I think sailors were suffering from it pretty severely. Malaria, maybe? I forget. There is some illness that just was plaguing people, and they realized quinine was a really good solution for that. The issue with quinine is that it's quite bitter. I guarantee you, if you took some tonic water and tried to drink it like a soda, you would not enjoy it. It is terribly, terribly bitter. It tastes like medicine, but like even worse than that, because like medicine at least these days have flavorings that try to make it at least some kind of sweet that is still bad because it still quote unquote tastes like medicine. They found that first of all, mixing it with soda water makes it more it makes it less unpleasant to drink. What made it even more, what made it even less unpleasant to drink was gin. And in fact, they actually tasted quite good. And so as modern medicine ramps up, as the issue of that illness escalates, because the illness that I can't remember at the moment evolved to not be cured by quinine. People still drink gin and tonics because, as it turns out, it actually tastes quite good. So that's why the gin and tonic is still around today, because it's just a good drink. And it actually served medicinal purposes. There are plenty of drinks that claim to be medicinal. That actually could be a good topic for a video. Alcoholic drinks that claim to be medicinal, whether jokingly or not. Like the mint julep, I believe, was jokingly referred to as a medicinal thing, but it was always tongue-in-cheek. The gin and tonic genuinely and provedly was a medicinal cocktail. Are tonic water and seltzer water two different things? Yes, actually. So tonic water, as you can see here, includes quinine from Central Africa. Quinine is like I honestly don't know what quinine is, but it is a certain medicinal thing that like genuinely helped sailors or something with a certain illness way back in like medieval times. And so like it's like a root from something that gets mixed in. It's very bitter, it's very unpleasant, whereas seltzer water is literally just carbonated water. it might have more to it, but like in general, the way we refer to it in mixology terms, it's just carbonated water. And we're actually going to get to that with another drink that's related to the gin and tonic. But the gin and tonic is super duper simple. How's it going, by the way, Chibity? How you doing? Thanks for stopping by. We already made 2 drinks. We made the old fashioned again because it's genuinely one of the big reasons it's one of the best cocktails to learn as a beginner. Not only because it's so simple, but because like it really teaches you about the complexities of a drink, like we talked about last week. Still awesome. And the mule, which I made with bourbon this time, and it's very easy. It's just lime juice, shot of whichever spirit you want. In this case, I use bourbon instead of vodka. It's usually made with vodka, and ginger beer. And this is very pleasant. It's like liquid air conditioning. It's so cold. It's so refreshing. Oh god, I spilled on myself. But that's really good. Anyways, I'm gonna fill this up with ice first before building our gin and tonic. I did use some of my fancy ice earlier for the old-fashioned, but honestly, like another part of this video that is important for like the point of like you can make good cocktails without much work at all is I'm just using my freezer ice for most of these cocktails. I use my fancy ice for my old-fashioned because I don't have anything that makes ice rocks otherwise, so I only use my homemade ice rocks there. But first of all, ice rocks are easy to make. Ice rocks are surprisingly easy to make. I'll make a video about that one day. 2, what was my second point? You can buy molds that, like, as far as I understand, they're supposed to make them clear anyways. I have ice molds. They don't turn ice rocks clear, and so I don't like using them. But yeah, the gin and tonic. And like I said, stupid simple. It's literally just gin, and tonic. And again, Fever Tree Fever Tree tonic water, because they do pretty good work. Do experiments with tonic waters. There's a lot of different brands out there. There's a lot of different brands out there. There's a lot of different flavors out there. You might find a tonic water that is better for your gin and tonic, your specific gin, in fact. Kevin Koss, one of the big bartending YouTubers, he has a variety of different tonic waters for different gins that he uses for his gin and tonics. He explains that in his video about gin and tonics. So 2 ounces of our Tanqueray. I would say an Old Tom or a London Dry works best here, but just use any gin you like. And I would say roughly 4 ounces of tonic water. The reality, just top it off as you like. Maybe hit it with a spoon if you feel like you need it to mix a little more, but honestly, you can just top it off, and if you need more, you can put more. If you need less, intentionally do a little less. Cheers. Gin and tonic. It literally is that simple. Gin, double tonic, ice. Oh, that is lovely. Yeah. The floral notes, the like really the like juniper and the floral notes and the dryness of the gin like gets cut through with the bitterness of the quinine in the tonic water, and then just like the fizzy bubbleness, the fizzy bubbles along with the ice just like really mellows out all the more intense flavors of the gin, of the bitter quinine, and then just mellows it out so that you get rid of all the unpleasant sensations associated with those bitter flavors and just get the really nice parts of those flavor profiles, and it's just really, really nice and pleasant. The thing about those cocktails I mentioned that like either seriously claim to be medicinal, or two, jokingly claim to be medicinal, is that they're so refreshing, they're so good that it does feel like you're getting healed by these drinks in a way that feels sort of like a good placebo effect. I mean, we joke about like drinking away your problems and like, you know, oh, it makes you feel good, it makes you feel drunk, all that. But like when you know that there's some like medicinal backstory about it, it's just really, really nice to be able to sip on one of these. And this was what I was sipping on when I was like, man, maybe I should skip stream anyways. I'm feeling lazy. I don't want to do anything. I don't even want to make a good drink. I don't really want to make a fancy drink right now. I just want to make something easy and good. And then I realized that could be a stream idea. So thank you to the gin and tonic for helping me come to that conclusion. Oh, okay, because whenever I tried seltzer water, I hated it. Yeah, because it's carbonated water. Seltzer water is literally nothing more than carbonated water, as far as I understand, at least. Again, it depends on how you define it. I think there is some seltzer water that has like added minerals or like added flavor of some kind in it. Maybe you're thinking of like a sparkling water or something like that, which I find bland and kind of gross too. But like in general, like seltzer water is added to things because you need to have that bubbly sensation, which is actually the thing I'm gonna get to next, but I actually want to enjoy this first. Something about gin feels medicinal just by its concept too, because gin is like, when it's brewed, it's kind of like vodka in a way. It is pretty neutral. It is pretty like, I'm not gonna say tasteless because that's disrespectful to gin as much as it's disrespectful to vodka, but I really don't respect vodka. Yeah, it's very neutral, but then that means you get a much more intense, like, it really emphasizes everything you put into gin, which is like the juniper, the various like floral elements, the herbs that's in it. What does Tanqueray say it has in it? Driven by his tireless pursuit of perfection, celebrated Bloomsbury tastemaker Charles Tanqueray founded the one Tanqueray London Dry Gin is a flawless combination of 4 perfectly balanced botanicals: juniper, coriander, angelica root, and licorice. I don't know what coriander is, but let's see if I can identify 4 different things. Oh, okay. I'm actually finding the licorice now that I mention it. It's late arriving. It's right at the end. Yeah, I don't really understand this. I don't really know what these other 2 are, angelica root and coriander. I know what juniper is because as every gin tastes like juniper in some way, because that's kind of its defining trait, is that like primarily most gins are flavored with juniper. I might finish this one too. That's dangerous. Ooh, yeah, it's so good. It really is just like the perfect simple cocktail, because you don't really even need to measure this. Just put one part gin, 2 parts tonic water, fill with ice, and you have a gin and tonic, and it will probably be good as long as you have good gin and good tonic. And it matters. It matters a lot. Don't cheap out on either one of those, because these are the only 2 ingredients. These are the only 2 things that could possibly affect its flavor. Delightful. Okay. Okay, so related to the gin and tonic, let me just put. Related to the gin and tonic, there's something called the Tom Collins, and while this technically would require a shaker, I'm just gonna build it in the glass because I'm lazy, as is the title of this video. You don't necessarily need to build this in a. You do not need to do this the quote unquote proper way and make it with a shaker, despite the fact that it has lemon juice. You can just build it in the glass and it will probably taste really good. So here we go. Some amount of simple syrup, I would say. Let's just roughly half. Like I said, this is not a strict ingredient at all. Make this as sweet or unsweet as you want. I would recommend at least a little bit for balance sake. Roughly, I would say like somewhere between half an ounce to 1 ounce, like with a lime. Lemons have a little more than 1 ounce. They would, like, limes have somewhere between like 3/4 of an ounce to an ounce of juice in them. A lemon has about like an ounce to an ounce and a half of juice in it. So I'm not gonna measure it. I'm just gonna put 1 ounce of lemon juice in it. Two ounces of gin. I would say, so Old Town. So I forget if I mentioned the title of this drink. It's called a Tom Collins, and there's actually a funny story about it. I would say an Old Tom, right? An Old Tom gin is the best gin for this, if we're talking strictly speaking. Barring that, a London Dry gin like the one I just used, but I want to mix it up, and also, who cares? make your drink with whatever you like. I like a Kori cherry blossom flavored gin. It's a really nice, mellow type of gin. It's not nearly as bitter as the other ones. It's a lot more like smooth in the smooth in more the flavor perspective, not necessarily the strength perspective. I don't believe in smoothness in that. You're either alcohol tolerant or you're not. Oh, look at that pretty color too. I love the way this goes, and sometimes it like biases towards like a pink color. It's really lovely. It's why I love this gin so much, and why I always use it for like VTuber themed cocktails, because VTubers are Japanese themed, anime themed, etc. And then so like a cherry blossom gin always adds that like touch of Japan to it. That's always really nice. Japan, by the way, has its own like really rich bartending culture. It is so extreme there. Bartending is like a legitimate art over there, and they have like very strict ways of teaching how to shake, and they've like very finely balanced different things, and they have very specific techniques and timings and everything. They've like nailed down bartending to a science, both a science and an art at the same time, and it's crazy. So like you really have to be really respectful with the way they use their gin. And then just fill this with ice, which you'll see in a sec won't fill this all the way. As you can see, the wash line isn't quite all the way at the top yet, and that's because there is one final ingredient to this. We're gonna top it up with some seltzer water or soda water or club soda or whatever you want to call it. I have a soda stream at home, and so I can just make my own carbonated water whenever I need. And no point in measuring this, just top it off. Speaking of Japanese spirits too, like a highball is a really simple drink. It's literally whiskey and soda water, but like even in Japan, they have a very specific way they make their ice. They have a very specific amount of time they want you to stir it. They intentionally make their whiskey so that it tastes as good as possible in highballs specifically. And so it's just a fascinating way of building. And yeah, you want to give that a quick stir to incorporate all the ingredients. If this was Japan, like they would have a very strict set of rules, but we're not in Japan right now. And there you go, the Tom Collins. Oh, it's so much different from it's very similar to the gin and tonic in that it's a very nice, lovely gin forward fizzy drink. But it's so different in terms of flavor. It's a lot sweeter, first of all, because we put simple syrup and lemon into it. And then just like this, like, it's like a cool, refreshing, like floral lemonade that is just really so accessible. You give this to a new drinker and they will happily drink it up. It's not like really, it's not the type of acquired taste that like really needs as much practice as other spirit forward drinks like an old fashioned or other things are. It's just so easy to drink. because it just comes off as like a delightfully weird lemonade. But then, like, you get into the more complicated flavors. You get the cherry blossom leaves, and you get the juniper, and you get, like, all these herbal and flowery notes as you walk through it, accentuated by the lemon, accentuated by the sugar. And it's just... And now the story. So first of all, you should know that Old Tom refers to a type of gin that doesn't really follow much of the rules of gin. And this was, I believe there was a prohibition in Britain in which this came about, of which, like, since gin makers needed to go underground, they didn't have the means to make, like, proper gin. And so they kind of made gin in a variety of weird, unique, and in some ways better ways because of the restrictions. Restrictions breed creativity, as some people would say. And so they made these gins, and like, you had to sell them illegally. There's a legend that you would go up to, like, there were all these tomcats would show up, like these little panels that have a cat on it, and you slip in some coins, and then a slug of gin would come out of it, and that's where the Old Tom comes from. That feels like an urban legend, but it's fun. It's fun to think about. Where the Tom Collins comes from is apparently it's kind of a practical joke. As far as I know, this has been debunked as well, but it's still a fun story, so I'll say it while drinking a nice Tom Collins. So, you know, bar culture is pretty big in Britain. Bar culture in general, just like, you know, but pre-prohibition, there's a lot of men crowding the bars, drinking, being rowdy, having a good time. And a nice little prank to help get yourself a seat is you would come up to a fella and you would order yourself a drink standing around and be like, hey, do you know Tom Collins? That person would probably go, what? Who's Tom Collins? It's like, I don't know any Tom Collins. And it's like, well, he seems to know you. Tom Collins is out there in another bar talking about how you fuck horses and you're cheating on your wife and you stole from the poor and all this other nonsense. And so that man, probably riled up, probably upset that someone's bad-mouthing out, on storms off to that other bar to meet him, and you get his seat. And you get to just, to sit down at your nice pub, get a nice drink, have a good time. As far as I know, that's not the actual story, but as far as I know, that's not actually, there isn't any truth to that, but it's a funny story. And it's a fun way to think of this drink, because it is a very approachable drink. This will easily get you drunk, because, like I said, it tastes like a fancy lemonade. Like, someone who is new to drinking might down this real fast and not realize that they've downed quite a bit of alcohol. Ooh. That one was really good. So that's 4 drinks so far. This might be a little bit of a shorter stream, but that's fine. Like, again, I'm feeling lazy, and that's the point of this stream. We had the Tom Collins, just a nice, simple drink that you can build in your glass. The Kentucky Mule, which is just an offshoot of the mule, which is very interesting. This the Tom Collins was gin, lemon juice, simple syrup, soda water. The Kentucky Mule, an offshoot of the Moscow Mule, made the same way, just with a different spirit, is just lime juice, whiskey, and ginger beer. The good old fashioned, which is simply a rock of ice with Angostura bitters, simple syrup, and 2 ounces of whiskey. And finally, the gin and tonic, which is as simple as it sounds. 1 part gin, 2 parts tonic, ice. All of these drinks are super simple, super good. There is one more I want to mention though that is very famous because of a certain movie. After these messages, which is to say, give me a sec, I need to find the ice. Bruh. Okay. Anyways. Now, I've actually never watched the movie. I actually don't even know what movie it's called. Have you ever heard of a character named The Dude? He like wears a bathrobe everywhere and has like a real long hair and mustache and whatnot. He looks a lot like a deadbeat pothead, to be honest. But have you ever heard of this movie? I know it's apparently a classic. I've just never seen it. The Big Lebowski. That's what it was. That's what it was. Yes, the Big Lebowski. Thank you so much. Yeah, The Big Lebowski. I've never seen the movie. I know nothing about it, other than it's a cult classic where one of the characters is named The Dude. He's apparently super cool. He looks like a kind of a deadbeat old pothead, but he's really cool. People think he's really cool, and I know people like to cosplay as him, largely because it's kind of an easy cosplay, let's be real. So much so that even like Aaron Rodgers, star NFL quarterback, like has dressed as The Dude for Halloween. Like people seem to really like The Dude. Anyways, that's all to say, he popularized the drink called the White Russian, which is also a stupid easy drink to make. And it's actually quite good, honestly. It's completely unfuckable unless you are how to drink. He once made a White Russian using much fancier ingredients, and then he got hella punished for it because it's like, oh, this is nasty. How did anyone like this drink? And it turns out it's because he was trying to get too fancy with it, and it's like there's no good way to make it with fancy ingredients. You actually need to make it with its specs, which are very publicly available ingredients and very easy. It's so simple. 1 part Kahlua, 2 parts vodka, topped with milk. Now, heavy cream is better, but the dude insists on making it with half and half. I don't typically carry half and half, so whole milk will have to do. Because I'm crazy, I'm actually gonna measure all this, but like, whatever. And I would say Kahlua is the right one for this. It's a quick tangent about coffee liqueurs actually for a sec. Kahlua is a particularly sweet coffee liqueur, and it does have some unique properties. I wonder if there is like a significant proportion of rum in it, because it is very sweet. It is like a coffee syrup in a way. Whereas, say, Mr. Black, a very fond favorite of bartenders everywhere. And they sponsor YouTubers. Hey, Mr. Black, sponsor me, please. Please, Mr. Black, I'll happily sponsor. This stuff's genuinely good. So, like, if you see people sponsored by Mr. Black, understand that this is like industry standard almost for a reason. But yeah, Kahlua is quite sweet. It's like a coffee syrup. When you have Kahlua in something, you don't necessarily, unlike the stuff I mentioned in like the in my oh, it's been so long. Unlike the cocktails I mentioned in the Valhalla stream, where like they didn't put simple syrup because they thought it was sweet enough already. Kahlua is sweet enough that you probably don't need simple syrup if you're adding Kahlua to your mix. That being said, and that's why, like, if you need sweet, it's a coffee flavor, or it's hard to go wrong with Kahlua. Kahlua is a very good mixer for that reason. There's a reason it's so popular. And so there's nothing wrong with using Kahlua. It's sort of like the Bacardi of coffee liqueurs. Some people, some cocktail snobs might give you hell for using Kahlua, but there's nothing wrong with it. Like, it's popular for good reason, as opposed to like other various cheap liqueurs that kind of are like popular because they're cheaper. Kahlua actually does serve pretty useful purposes, and for the purposes of a White Russian, that's how someone like How to Drink, who's very good at making cocktails, could fuck up an old-fashioned, not an old-fashioned, a White Russian, is because it's just like Kahlua is already the perfect ingredient for it. It's very sweet, and it's quite coffee-y, and like you need it to taste like what I'm going to describe once I make it. So 1 ounce of Kahlua, in fact, it's so sweet and like kind of unique that like if something calls for Kahlua, use Kahlua. If they're talking about a coffee liqueur, you tend to want to go with the most pure coffee you can, like a Mr. Black. Two ounces of vodka. And if you stopped right there, you would technically have a cocktail called the Black Russian. But the Black Russian is not a particularly good drink, because it's trying to be a complicated cocktail in terms of like having, it's like bitter and coffee and strong, but it doesn't have the same complexity as, say, a real cocktail would, like an old fashioned or something, because like Kahlua is not a particularly strong flavor. It's not a particularly complicated flavor, rather. And vodka has no flavor, so it tends to be better to add milk to it. And you don't really need to measure this, you can just top it off. And honestly, that kind of layered look looks pretty cool. You do want to mix it up. It does taste better mixed up. And so you would want to stir it up. Knowing the dude though, he'd probably just stir it with his finger. As far as I understand, you are supposed to mix it, but not like thoroughly. It needs to be kind of a messy stir so that you get a little bit of separate flavors, but also like it is incorporated in some way. I've never seen The Big Lebowski either, but the filmmakers are brothers who make a lot of quirky films. Fargo or Brother, Where Art Thou? The Coen brothers. I know I've heard of the Coen brothers, mostly because the mixologist I often refer to, How to Drink, is a big movie buff in addition to a mixologist. But like, I don't. If I've seen a Coen brothers film, I don't remember it because I'm not a movie buff. Oh yeah, that's good. That's really good. It really just tastes like It really just tastes like, I don't know, like a creamy, milky, sweet Starbucks drink, which like you can pretend all you want about how bad Starbucks is, but they're good, but in a really basic way. That's what this is. It's really good in a basic way. No Country for Old Men. I've heard of that. I've never watched it because I'm a coward who can't handle horror. I don't. I can't handle horror, so I'm not. I've never watched that, and I know I've never watched it, but I heard it's very good. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to this. It's just like a very sweet, like coffee milkshake, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's like that's something like the pina colada is another example of just like a very uncomplicated, very like one note type of drink that like it's good. It doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be fancy. It doesn't need to be hard to make. Like a White Russian, I literally stirred this with my finger. Like you just put 1 part Kahlua, you don't even have to measure it. Again, 1 part Kahlua, 2 parts of vodka topped with milk, and you get a nice coffee milkshake that is cold and refreshing. And it's not complicated at all, and it never needed to be. It is very delicious. I could slam White Russians all the time. I do slam White Russians on a relatively frequent basis. Not lately. I haven't had a White Russian in a few months, but like it's simple and good for good reason. In fact, my favorite cocktail of all time is actually a fancy version of a White Russian. We could do an episode on that. I don't think I could do as good an episode as Greg from H2D, How to Drink. I mention How to Drink a lot because he is the exact reason I am a mixologist. Maybe I should tell that story. How to Drink is one of the biggest mixology channels out there. And he is just a funny dude. He's an awesome guy. But I think a key thing is that he mentions this in his early episodes, back when he had an intro. He has never been a bartender. He has never been a bartender. He just got into he made a YouTube for cocktails just because he loved cocktail culture so much. He loved making drinks so much. He loves the experience of making nice drinks and weird drinks and bad drinks. And so he built a YouTube empire on that premise. And it's just really cool to see that it is such an accessible art. It's why I'm making my channel the way he does, in which you kind of teach people how to make these drinks as opposed to just making random drinks and making it seem like such a complicated and weird science, as opposed to something that anyone can do. You don't have to be a trained bartender to be able to do this. And in fact, with all these drinks that I brought up today, you do not even need to have. You can make some amazing drinks that are just incredibly lazy to make. The gin and tonic, again, is very simply 1 part gin, 2 parts tonic. The old fashioned is legitimately just a measure of simple syrup, 2 dashes of Angostura bitters, and 2 ounces of whiskey. The Tom Collins is a lemon, a measure of sugar, and 2 ounces of gin with soda water. The Mule is just lime juice, vodka or whatever spirit you want, in this case whiskey, and ginger beer. And the White Russian is just 1 part Kahlua, 2 parts vodka, topped with milk. You can make such delicious cocktails with no work at all. I did not even have to break out my shaker at all. I did not need to have special tools for this. If I wanted to stir this, I use my finger for this one, but I could, if I felt the need to stir the other ones, I can just use a regular spoon. They're not as good as bar spoons, but you don't need that. I use the rock of ice for my old fashions, but you don't necessarily need that. Just use the ice you have. I intentionally use my freezer ice for even these slightly fancier cocktails because it's like I felt lazy. And so you don't have. There are plenty of cocktails out there that really don't require much effort to make at all. That you can really enjoy, and they will feel good to make. They will be pleasant to drink, and they will get you drunk, as I am now, and it's really nice. And that's the lesson I learned from How to Drink. It's just that, like, yeah, you don't necessarily need to, if you know certain techniques. Like, he has a few episodes where he like goes over some basic things. A big secret of a lot of bartending is just the fact that like almost every drink is just a basic formula that has been expanded upon. And then so like you learn this if you start doing a lot of mixing of your own, is that let's say you enjoy a whiskey sour, which is just whiskey, sugar, and citrus. You will realize that as you like look up new recipes, as you try to develop more recipes out of your own, as you like branch out and try to learn more stuff, that everything is like it's basically a fancier whiskey sour. That's just basically a fancier daiquiri, which is the exact same thing. Instead of whiskey, it's rum, citrus, and sugar. A margarita, that's tequila, citrus, and sugar. A caipirinha, that's Brazilian, that's how do you pronounce it? Cachaça? That's a cachaça, sugar and citrus. Like everything is just a sour of some kind. Everything's an old fashioned of some kind. Some bitters, some sugars, some spirits. Everything is a last word of some kind. That one's a little bit more complicated a formula, but what you found is that it always works, which is crazy. It's an herbal liqueur, spirit, sweet, sour. Equal parts of all of that will always be a good drink, no matter what it is. He made an episode where he followed the quote-unquote last word formula, because the last word is a green chartreuse, gin, either maraschino syrup or simple syrup, and maraschino liqueur, simple syrup, and lemon juice, and that's just a great cocktail. But then bartenders realized, okay, the lemon can be any citrus, the maraschino can be any sweet. It's an element. The chartreuse, which is famously very expensive now because there's a whole story on chartreuse. Um, the chartreuse can be replaced with any herbal liqueur, and then the spirit obviously can be any spirit, any main spirit like gin, vodka, rum, etc. And it will always be a good drink. He decided to put the weirdest shit together. Like he put the Kahlua plus like a spicy thing plus like a whiskey plus like an orange, and that turned out to be really good, for instance. And so like he decided to push it to his limits, and that's another thing, because he's not a bartender. He doesn't have a lot of the same prejudices, the same like the same sort of like experiences that a bartender has. That's sort of like there's like a, I think it's a Zen Buddhist thing of like the quote unquote beginner's mind of like there's something that holds back experts, and obviously they're experts for good reason. Like it's oh, you studied this for like several decades, like obviously you're good at it. But then like it means your mind closes off a lot of things you deem to be impossible or not good enough, whereas like a beginner will always try everything because they understand, because like there's a natural curiosity to that. And like Zen Buddhism implores you to keep your beginner's mind, to make sure you always keep all your possibilities open. And then thus like Greg always has Greg from How to Drink always has the beginner's mind, in that like he will try various weird things that he's pretty sure isn't gonna work, in fact. And then that lets him make some crazy stuff. Like he accidentally invented Angostura ice cream. I've talked about how much I love Angostura bitters. He loves it too. Maybe that's his influence on me, is that I found myself to really love Angostura bitters so much because he does. But like he accidentally, just completely by accident, invented the Angostura bitters ice cream, and he realized that that's possibly one of the greatest things he's ever invented. And it's just, I love that about him, and that's why like I got into mixology. I can't do art. I just don't have the patience nor the drive to really practice that art at a rate that lets me get good enough to actually make some stuff I can be proud of, like, you know, like a Captivate TV or like a Puyo Chow, or like very. I'm naming a bunch of lewd artists. God damn it, Foxy Rainey, she makes kind of lewd art too. Who are artists that actually make like safe for work art? I'm outing myself so hard right now. But anyways, like yeah, I can't really draw to make my art. So when I discovered mixology, I found that it became a really nice outlet for art, in that like I can make delicious drinks. And I love Greg's style of just like winging it. Just like every now and then, some of the cocktails I made on my Twitter account, x.com/kazarinonatsu, that where I'm just literally reaching for stuff. I'm literally just turn my brain off, let my hands move, and pour things into my shaker or pour things into my glass, and then like shake it up and pour it in and just try it. And like I've invented some really nice stuff about it. The mint Fantôme cocktail became a regular of mine because I realized that mint and absinthe go so well together. And I've looked on the internet, I've not seen anyone else combine mint and absinthe in that way, and I love it. And so like that's what How to Drink taught me. It's just like really cool to see that sort of mentality out of it, because like I also follow like Eric Sanderson and Steve the Bartender and The Educated Barfly. Those guys are legit bartenders. They worked in bars as bartenders, and while their insight is extremely valuable, obviously, because they have experience, they have practical experience, they have some pretenses that How to Drink doesn't have, because he was never a bartender. He doesn't have those pretenses, and therefore his mind is more open to some weirder possibilities, even if some of them turn out bad, which are some of his more popular videos where he accidentally makes really bad drinks. And that's sort of the way I want to approach my channel, is like teaching you that bartending doesn't have to be so rigid, doesn't have to be so like cultural. It doesn't have to adhere to strict like cultural standards. You can make super easy drinks like the ones we made today. Or you can make you can like really let I don't know why this is the term I decided to go with, but you can really let your freak flag fly. You can really you can really go all out with some more wild ideas and branch out and make it super fancy and complicated and make something unique and good that perhaps was never explored before, or maybe it was explored but in a different way, and it really does let your creativity shine. And that's why I love mixology so much. Yeah. So I hope you learned something today. It's a little bit of a weird stream. I know it's a little bit of a maybe not so much of a professional stream in a way, but it was exciting. It's really cool to be able to see how I could do this. Honestly, I still have no idea how to end streams, guys. But yeah, this was fun. Thank you so much. We'll try to finish the GFL2 event tomorrow. We'll see. I want to see what's happening in Blue Archive, because by now I think the new update will have dropped. So we'll see if there's a new event for tomorrow. For tomorrow that we can try reading. Barring that, I think we're gonna... Yeah. I really got into making PowerPoints for a while. Long story. That's weird. Honestly, I was thinking about that in terms of like VTuber debuts. I really want to do a proper debut someday, but I have no idea how exactly to actually pull that off. Are those just PowerPoints? Are those just like glorified PowerPoints when they like bring up like, oh yeah, and here's hi, my name is Pomu Rainpuff. I'm a fairy from Virtual Neverland and this and that, and then they like go through the slides of what anime they like, about their information about themselves, their hex coding and whatnot. Like, are those just PowerPoints, or are they doing something else that's fancy? That's it. It feels like such a basic thing, but I don't actually understand it, which is another reason I'm so intimidated by debuts. Like, I don't know how to hype one up for myself. I don't know how to do one. I don't know how to like make it, so I don't know. Like, is it just a legit PowerPoint? I think like Shu Yamino, his was a legit PowerPoint, and he even felt a little awkward about it because he put like some weird effects that were like clearly PowerPoint related, and they were just like, I don't know. Eight's her PowerPoints or Google Slides. Oh, either PowerPoints or Google Slides. Okay. I remember doing PowerPoints for like school projects or whatnot, but it's just like I didn't think that was something that the VTubers are doing, but I wasn't quite sure. Especially because people do some really unique stuff. I think it was Shiori from the newest HoloLive generation. She had like hers like moved around in a lot of cool ways, and then it was like, and then like they like moved their model around and stuff. Like hers was a really cool way that she went through like her information, and so like that was a cool way to do a debut to me. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I might finish the White Russian before the other ones. The White Russian actually kind of gets better over time as you water it down a little bit because it reduces its strength without diluting the flavors, whereas the other ones, they get a little bit diluted if you let it sit for too long. Yeah, the gin and tonic is getting a little watery. The old fashioned is still good. The Tom Collins is getting a little watered down. The mule is definitely getting a little bit watered down, but that wouldn't matter if it was a vodka mule. There was a fancy site people used for school projects for a while called Pressy. Not sure if VTubers use it though. I've never even heard of that. Won't lie. We just use PowerPoint for all of our stuff. Maybe other students were using something more powerful, but I always remember using Google Slides or PowerPoint, which is why I ask. It's just like it feels so ghetto to just use it feels so basic to just use PowerPoint or whatnot. I guess if you make PowerPoints particularly fancy, like they can't tell that it's PowerPoint, but it's also like I feel weird using PowerPoint in a weird way. Maybe I'm just being like, maybe I'm falling into like the snobbiness of like bigger VTubers who can afford to use better stuff. God, this is really good though. Don't underestimate Kahlua. I use Kahlua in so much stuff, and I just am not ashamed to admit it. I made that whatchamacallit. I was actually particularly proud of that one. That was a consideration for an episode. If you've seen my Twitter, x.com/KazariNonatsu. I'm gonna continue shelling it as much as possible because that's where I'm mainly at. I made a macchiato cocktail for the GFL2 character, macchiato, but misspelled. And it was basically like a fancy espresso martini, except that I used like curacao and a lot of demerara syrup to make it quote unquote overly sweet, because the character likes quote unquote overly sweet macchiatos. And that turned out actually really good. And I was particularly proud of that one, so I kind of wanted to like build that on stream and show it off, but I wasn't sure I could make like a full stream about that. And then so I unless I made something else for other characters, but I couldn't think of anything off the top of my head. Like macchiatos was really easy because it was like, well, there are coffee cocktails out there, I can probably make something pretty easy. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe that can be a shorter video. I don't know. I mean, I should try all sorts of things, but it's yeah. I mean, I should definitely try it, but we'll see. Um. Hmm. Yeah, I don't really have anything more to say. My mind is kind of blitzed right now because I'm kind of exhausted. Another reason I mentioned it at the beginning of the stream, but like I've been sick all week, and so like another reason I considered not streaming was because I've been recovering. I'm better. I am better by now, but it's also like maybe I should just get more rest instead of streaming. But it's like I love streaming. I want to make streaming a thing for me, and I do unironically enjoy teaching. It was like I would go crazy if I had this cool idea of like teaching you about basic cocktails that don't require any effort and let that slide. So I was like, no, I should start stream anyways, even if I'm late, because I was like, nah, maybe I shouldn't stream after all. But no, I decided to stream because I want to stream so badly. But I'm still not sure, especially now that I know about the battery life of my phone, if I can do gaming streams the way I wanted to do them. At least not with my current setup. I would probably need to find a way to have like a wireless charger of some kind. I know those exist because my brother uses one, but I'm not 100% sure if we'll have a gaming stream tomorrow. If not, we're defaulting to Girls Frontline 2 again to finish off the rest of the event. If not, then well, we're defaulting to Girls Frontline 2 unless there's an interesting Blue Archive event, in which case we're gonna switch it to Blue Archive. Barring that, we might actually do Nikke as well. I want to try having a gaming stream tomorrow, just to be clear. Tomorrow night, rather. Or if it's already past midnight, tonight. But we'll see. I'm not 100% sure there'll be a stream at all, but I want to try doing some kind of gaming stream tomorrow. With that in mind, I think yeah, I'm gonna end the stream here, relax, probably play some Cyberpunk. To be honest, I've been really craving playing Cyberpunk lately. I haven't been able to play Cyberpunk because 1, I was busy, and 2, I was sick. So I just couldn't play any Cyberpunk. So I'll probably play some Cyberpunk offline while I decide. And then, as for next week, ooh. Okay, I might need to buy some more ginger beer, but so like on the topic of the mule that I mentioned, we could do a whole stream about like trying different spirits as a mule, because like I made a Kentucky mule today, but it's usually a vodka mule. And you can make a mule with rum. You can make my favorite mule is with absinthe. You can make a mule with all sorts of different spirits. And so we could do a mule-based thing. That's probably what I'll try next week. We'll see. But until then, yeah. I actually have an idea for next week, so look forward to that. I'm gonna finish these drinks, play some Cyberpunk, relax. But thank you for anyone who happens to be lurking here. Thank you, Chibity, for coming by. I always appreciate your presence here. Eventually, I'll turn these into videos. I'm so bad at that, but I really do appreciate you. I really just can't thank you enough. streaming has been such a good outlet for me, just in general. Like I there's so much I want to talk about with this kind of stuff, but there's no way for me to actually like really explain it to people. So it's nice to know that anyone listens to this. So truly, thank you. And I'll see you next time. Till then.